Pip pip, tally ho, Joolz Guides here, in which I wander around London telling you fascinating facts. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell if you like these videos. I know I'll keep going on about it. It doesn't cost anything, it just helps me out a bit, makes me look good, and it means that you'll be notified if I upload a new one. And today we are starting here in Queen's Park, but we're actually going to walk around Queen's Park and then all the way down to Kensal Green, Kensal Rise. You'll see. Let's go.
I've seen a deal of gaiety throughout my noisy life. With all my grand accomplishments, I never could get on.
Up until the 1800s, this whole area was all just rural. It was like being in the countryside. It belonged since 1066 to St. Paul's Cathedral. And gradually, from about 1820, over in Kensal Green, they started to build houses around here. It's amazing to think that between a space of about 60 years, from about 1820 up until about 1880, the whole area completely changed. If you were born in like 1800 and you were living around here, you'd have been brought up with cows and pigs and stuff around here. And then when you were in your 60s, 70s, it would have just been completely covered in housing and stuff like that. It was quite amazing. Anyway, some of the later places, like that Kilburn Library, I mean, that's from 1894. And it's quite nice because it's still a library all these years later. I mean, that would have just backed onto fields when it was first built. Look at this lovely school over here. Look, it still says caretaker over the door. I think this caretaker still lives there or still works there or something. This is Salisbury Primary School. It's from 1899, one of the first free mixed schools. Gladstone's Education Act, offering free education to kids, didn't come in until 1870. So this was like about 30 years after that. Local authorities established these board schools, which is what that is, not to be mixed up with a boarding school. I mean, before Gladstone's Education Act, kids just didn't have to go to school at all. Yeah, I suppose they could if they could afford to, but then he was the one who forced you to go to school until the age of 12.
A noise all night, in bed all day, and swimming in champagne. For Champagne Charlie is my name.
Look at this school, Simon. You see, that's Islamia School Centre, founded by Yusuf Islam. Do you know who he was? Cat Stevens. Cat Stevens founded that school. Oh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. It's from 1983. The first Muslim school to receive government funding.
Is the building from 1983?
I don't think it was, because look, on the hopper, is it called a hopper at the top of the drain pipe? That says 1927. So it must have been something else before that, unless they picked that up second-hand.
eBay. Good for any game at night, my boys. Good for any game at night, my boys. For champagne.
That's not a bad information board.
Do you like that?
Look how grand it is, it's massive.
The things you notice, honestly, it's quite funny. Look at this amazing bandstand. This was put here in 1891. But I mean, bandstands used to be a massive part of Victorian life. All Victorian parks would have one of these bandstands since Captain Francis Fulk, who designed the V&A and the Royal Albert Hall. He spotted one in a Paris exhibition and he liked its Ottoman design. So he designed one to go in South Kensington. And then to encourage people away from bare-knuckle fist-fighting and bear-baiting and sports which they considered unwholesome, they thought, well, I know, we'll have a bit of dancing in the park. So that area around it would have been nicely paved, and sadly, after 1945 up until 1980, they lost about 600 of these. There were originally about 1,500 of them in Britain. This particular one you might recognise from the Jam video, When You're Young, from, when was that, 1979 or so. But more importantly, it's where Cliff Richard and the Young Ones filmed Living Doll. Got myself a crying, talking, sleeping, walking, living doll.
That's a beautiful tree.
Is it an oak tree? I think it's
Yeah,
is it? It's an oak
looks
tree.
like it, yeah.
It's not. It's a pretty sorry looking oak tree, but it is beautiful. But it's probably formed a boundary for all the farms and stuff that were here, going back years and years before. It's probably one of the only remnants of those days. This whole park came about because back in 1879, the Royal Agricultural Society, they wanted to do this show here. And it rained and rained and rained. It was absolutely complete. It was a massive show. There were thousands of livestock and new techniques to promote the latest scientific farming achievements. But the whole place was totally waterlogged. And Queen Victoria actually wrote in her diary, "The animals of all nations, cows, bulls, horses and co, were led up and down in succession, decked with ribbons, but they could hardly keep their footing for the fearful deep mud. There were splendid horses of all kinds, magnificent French and English stallions, also mules and donkeys. It is such a pity the weather was so unfavourable, as it would have been a beautiful sight and brought in much money, instead of which I fear they have lost a great deal."
Oh.
That's why it's called Queen's Park, after Queen Victoria. Later on, after all this, they decided to eventually turn the whole area into a park. They got hold of Major Alexander Mackenzie. He's the guy who did Finsbury Park, Alexandra Palace Park. So they've got this little area here, which is really beautifully couteured, is that the word? Designed, anyway. Really beautifully designed bit around here.
I quite like that. I mean, it's set into the earth
Yeah.
with a fence around it.
A bit like Planet of the Apes, you know, when all the things like the Statue of Liberty and everything is half submerged. You know, it's so out of use now these
It'll
days.
be the British
that-
version of Planet of the Apes. You just come across a telephone box sticking out of the earth. I like the fact that it's fenced around it.
Yeah. Don't know who Omar is, but whoever it is, it doesn't really care much for property.
No.
There's some really big houses down here. And these days, people like Sean Keaveney, Lily Allen, Daniel Craig live around here. Dua Lipa. But yeah, back in our day, it was just not fancy at all. Look at this school here. This is Ark Franklin Primary School. That is named after Rosalind Franklin. It's a bit sad actually, because she was one of the scientists who discovered the helical structure of DNA. But for some reason she didn't get remembered for it as much as Crick and Watson did. But she was quite instrumental in the discovery of that DNA thing. Anyway, she was born in Willesden in 1920. Willesden, I mean, well, we're coming up to Kensal Green now. And Kensal Green was one of the manors of Willesden. Kensal comes from King's Holt, meaning King's Wood, first mentioned in 1253. You still see places around here called King's Holt, you know, meaning King's Wood. But you see, as all these houses started to get built after 1820 and throughout the Victorian times, this road here that we're on here, Chamberlayne Road, this didn't exist. This didn't get completed all the way up to Kilburn until about 1915. And even the house there, the building there, look, it says Ed 7 on it. So that shows that that building is from the time of King Edward VII. Pretty new. Well, newish anyway. Around 1867, this fellow called William Austin, who was an illiterate builder who had apparently previously had a job as a scarecrow on a farm near here. He had this vision to create good quality homes for working classes, so he started up building these workers' cottages here. It's called the Queen's Park Estate. This one says it's from 1876. What's that say? Artisans, Labourers and General Dwellings Company. ALGDL on that thing there. And look, you can see a little sign on there saying that who created that plaque as well. That's from Charles Bastin Union Pottery, Lambeth. But the whole area, I mean, by 1882, there were about 2,000 of these beautiful homes with 3 bedrooms upstairs, 2 living rooms downstairs, an outside toilet, of course. We don't want those filthy indoor things.
Do you think it's still working class?
I very much doubt that. It's amazing how it's changed, isn't it? Should have been awarded the Nobel Prize, really, being a scarecrow, being outstanding in his field.
Champagne Charlie is my name. Good for any game at night, my boys, who come and join me on a...
But look, over here is the Paradise by way of Kensal Green. It's probably a reference to the fact that there's a cemetery across the road, which was built in 1833, and I mean, this used to be called the Plough, but maybe they changed it after 1833 to the Paradise by way of Kensal Green after the poem by G.K. Chesterton, in which he says, "For there is good news yet to hear, and fine things to be seen, before we go to paradise by way of Kensal Green." Is it terribly rude of me filming you because you look very like you're from the same era as me?
Oh, yeah, likewise.
You have very nice era costumes. What's the occasion?
We're getting married.
Are you?
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations! How nice. Felt like we were on a film set or something. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's rather nice. Yeah, I do like a lovely original, look, Buxton and Co. Get extra points for spotting a pub with the original brewery on the side. And just around the corner, look at this. This is a beauty. You don't get post boxes like this very often, do you? Look, that's GR, so that's from the time of King George V. I love all these kind of details on it. Stamps, there you go. And this is where now that I think the stamp machine or something has been removed or not in use, but I think you get points for spotting post boxes like this, don't you? I think you ought to. That's a beauty. And actually, if you come around the side here, across the road there, you get points for spotting one of these as well. Look, it's the parish boundary marker. This is the boundary of Paddington. The boundary of Paddington is 35 feet away. I don't know why they didn't put that at the actual boundary. And that's the old school, St. John's National Schools. They've still got an old sign on the side there, and that was from around the same time as this church, St. John the Evangelist Church, which was built around 1845-ish. There was this reverend here, the very extremely Reverend Arthur Pemberton. He decided to start up this football club for the boys at a nearby place called Christchurch Mission, which was affiliated to this church. And then they merged with St. Jude's, which is around the corner on Ilbert Street, and it became Queen's Park Rangers Football Club. So Queen's Park Rangers kind of started at this church. And recently they had new bells put in as well up there. And the director of Queen's Park Rangers Football Club decided to pay for it because he knew his history and he appreciated what they had done for them. Look at this lovely building over here. E.M. Lander across the road there. He was a master mason who worked at the cemetery, which we're coming to in a minute. There used to be a whole row of them. There used to be loads of these masons making the gravestones and everything.
It's like an underground station, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
well, it's of that kind of period, isn't it? 927, it's beautiful.
The way I gained my titles by a hobby which I've got, of never letting others pay, however long the shot.
Look, we're on Harrow Road here. Over there is the cemetery on that side of the road. So that was from 1833. But even before the cemetery was built, that was just fields or whatever. But these houses here are the oldest in Brent. Some of these were built in 1816. I mean, these days, obviously, they've got nice bathrooms and facilities. But back then, they would have just had a pigsty out back, probably. Certainly no indoor toilet. And they were just forming a little row of cottages on the edge of a green, which was sort of just behind here, I suppose. It was just a kind of little green area. Amazing, and that was back in 1820, and then 60 years later, all of this popped up. There's a new place here called Mes Pies. They haven't been open for that long, so I have to go and try a pie. I promised I would. Hello, sir.
Hi there.
How long have you been open here?
We've been here for 2 years.
What pies do you have here, then?
We have a venison, roast shallots and parsnips. It's really, really good. It's in season at the moment. It's lovely. This is the creamy mushroom and thyme pie. It's a very popular pie at the moment. Vegetarian option is the leek cheese and black truffle. Then the ox cheek and shin of beef with root vegetables won the British Pie Awards this year.
British Pie Awards. Melton Mowbray. I mean, that's like the mecca of pies, Melton Mowbray.
Exactly, it's the champagne of pies.
Yeah. Why is it called Mes Pies and Wine?
Mes means we or us in Latvian. And Martin, my business partner, is from Latvia.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
How's it going today?
Busy.
Yeah. Those look very good.
And we also supply to delis, Selfridges, Partridges, Notting Hill Farmers Market, and also Victoria Park in East London.
I'm going to have the rabbit celeriac and red peppers. They're called Mes Pies, not because of you, but because of Fernando's wife.
My wife, yes, she's Austrian, but she's the one that recommended the name, and we thought it was really good.
Ah, Mes meaning we, us.
Or us, yeah.
So I now know 2 words in Latvian. I should say paldies, which is thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Do you come here often?
I do.
Yeah. Do you come here often?
They've got the best pies.
Yeah. What are you ordering?
The ox cheek,
Yeah.
and then they have this amazing mash and chicken liquor. Have you tried the chicken liquor?
Oh no, I tried the gravy.
Yeah, this is the veal gravy, so we roast the bones, cook for 72 hours, roast the vegetables, we glaze with red wine, and we reduce it all the way down.
Amazing. See, good texture, good consistency. I like that.
I'm a bit worried it's going to go through those holes up in there. Careful there. Mashed potato on there. This is exactly what the doctor ordered. That is really good. Compliments to the chefs. It's really nice. Happy customer?
Yo, I'm so happy, thank you. It's one of the best.
The best customer.
Yeah, man.
See ya.
Dreaded sunny day, so I'll meet you at the cemetery gates. Keats and Yeats are on your side. This is one of the first, in fact this is the first of the Magnificent Seven cemeteries built in Victorian times. It was to alleviate the problem of having no space in the churchyards for all these burials. So they started to build all these ones on the outskirts like Highgate Cemetery and the one up in Stoke Newington. Because this was all just sheep pasture before 1833. An ancient man of 50 died in the soft green English countryside, a place called Kensal Green. John McDowell Stuart, rider in the Mirage. He was a really great explorer. If you go to Australia, there's the Stuart Ranges, the Stuart Highway, the Stuart this, the Stuart that. He rode from north to south and back again on horseback on his pretty grey mare Polly in the burning sand and sun, intrepid man, #1. Anyway, there we go. I hope he enjoyed that. It's by Ted Egan, that song. It's on a great album called The Bangtail Muster, which I highly recommend. All brown bread now.
There are a lot of pictures of people, the portraits of people.
Yeah,
On
I
the
find it a bit
graves.
creepy. How do you feel about
Well, I'm not used to it. The other thing, obviously, is the decadence, the overwhelming designs and ideas, and it's almost glamorous. You don't see this in a regular churchyard.
What's extraordinary is you get these people with these huge family tombs. And then you get quite relatively famous people in here, like, I don't know, Charles Babbage, who invented the computer. He's just got quite a fairly modest grave. We've got royalty in here, all sorts of people. They're lying side by side with mere mortals like you and me. And there you go, look, it's quite a modest little one, but this is one of the greatest Victorians who ever lived. Well, two of them. Look, Mark Brunel, who created the Thames Tunnel, first tunnel underneath the river, and his son Isambard Kingdom Brunel.
Absolutely extraordinary.
I know, they're right here, they're right.
I mean, they helped change the world.
I mean, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, I mean, they created the SS Great Britain. He did the propellers on ships, any number of bridges. If you go to the SS Great Britain Museum up in Bristol, I think it is, if you can prove that your name is Isambard, you get in for free. There's not even so much as a bridge on top of Brunel's tomb. And right next to Rosemary Brabant, I wonder if that person knew that they were going to end up next to one of the most celebrated Victorians of our age. This one here, look, this was made by E.M. Lander that we saw over there. So we saw the master mason at the end there. He created the family vaults of Arthur Tooth.
It's like a film set, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was used in a lot of films. Theatre of Blood, Vincent Price, to name but one.
You shall spend the entire night within this mausoleum by yourself.
This is Prince George, the Duke of Cambridge. He was like the 7th son of King George III, in charge of loads of forces in the Napoleonic Wars. He was there at the Siege of Sebastopol, charge of the Light Brigade, Battle of Balaclava. He's got a statue in Whitehall. You probably saw it in my Whitehall video. He was there. He did it. It's incredible. And then he obviously went off and had a bit of an affair with a mistress called Louisa Bow Clark. And she's only buried a few metres away. I don't know what his wife made of it, because I think his wife's here as well. Anyway, he was instrumental in reducing the amount of floggings for people in the British Army. Freddie Mercury was cremated here.
Really?
Yeah, okay. And Alan Rickman. Crematorium down there. But we're not going that way. We're getting out of here. Enough time to spend in these places. Just on the outside, just as you come back out onto Harrow Road up here, look at this terrace of cottages. They're built in 1864. I know that because it says so. But what's also nice, here they are, look. What's this? Hammersmith Parish. So we're on the court, we're on the boundary of Hammersmith Parish, HP, 1865, and KP, which is Kensington Parish? What are those? Wilson Parish and Hammersmith Parish, you reckon? Anyway, Glyn's Monumental Works. What's that? Is that 1848? Does that mean it's another stonemason who works on the monuments in the cemetery? That would make sense, wouldn't it? Now a gallery. This is such a cool place. I mean, from the outside, you didn't really know it's such a Aladdin's cave.
Yeah, it is a cave. These pieces are from all over the world, South America, Africa, Russia, Afghanistan, everywhere, China.
Do you know sort of all the properties of what they do?
Rose quartz, which is this pinkish one,
Yeah.
for unconditional love. Heaviest and biggest we have here.
You're surrounded by all this energy, so
Yes.
you must have very good unconditional love, because you've got this and you've got this.
This is a meteorite from space, northern Siberia, Russian meteorite, 1947.
It's like being in a museum. What's your favourite, Peter?
The one behind you is a fossil. The name is Orthoceras, but it's a calamari fossil. It's 420 million years old. Yeah,
Say that again.
Hang on, 420 million years old,
Yeah.
and it's calamari.
Calamari.
I kind of want to lick it.
It's kryptonite, Joolz, kryptonite.
What kind of people normally come to buy from you?
Some people who believe in crystals and serious buyers are interior designers. It was very good in 2012 when I opened. Since they put that very stupid idea, the island in the middle of the road.
The traffic islands.
Yeah. There was 7 serious accidents. They put a double yellow line in front of our shop. People used to come here and park there, come
to the shop and buy stuff.
go there.
Oh.
But now they cannot find a parking place. They cannot even slow down even to look inside. Council really don't understand. This is for you.
Thank you.
Keep
What
it
the-
in your pocket.
Okay.
Yeah, and then quartz from Pacific Ocean. Yeah. They keep the negative energy away.
Like Superman when he goes to the North. Well, you know when Superman goes and he puts the crystal in, it's full of memories.
Crystal, yeah. We have website, is it gallery82london.uk.
Thanks very much. Lovely to
Thank
meet
you, Julian.
See you later. Points for spotting, extra points. Not any old horse trough. This isn't that rubbish you get that made out of stone, Simon. Look, it's a metal one. Yeah, you don't get many of those. Do you? Haven't seen one of them before. That's probably why it's behind the railings.
Oh, so it would have been the
pub-
car
the
park
pub-
or the place to put your
Or the pub garden, yeah,
stagecoaches.
could have been
Well,
the
that's
beer-
where they would have tied up their horses.
Could be the beer garden. Oh, yes, exactly.
Yeah, the Mason's Arms. Probably again to do with lots of masonry going on around here.
That's presumably what it's referring to. Anyway, another sad sight, a closed pub. Look at that. That is the Holland and Holland gun factory up there. They've actually got a shop in Jermyn Street in London. I didn't realise. You walk past it all the time. You can go upstairs and go and have a look at all their guns. In 1835, Harris Holland, he was the son of an organ maker. He started making these guns for pigeon shooting. And by 1880, they had this factory here. Well, I think there was his nephew, Henry Holland, and he joined together with Harris Holland. And so it became Holland and Holland Gun Factory. And they do bespoke guns now. You can get proper, like, shotguns and stuff made just for you.
Good for any game at night, my boys. Good for any game at night, my boys. For champagne.
We're walking down Clifford Gardens now. What do you call that triangular bit at the top? Oh, it doesn't matter anyway, that bit. Look, if you look all along, they've all got it. It's all nice little details they've got along here. Thing is, they're all different. Have a look at
Yeah.
that.
Some have them and some don't. Some are just completely plain and some are very ornate. Oh, it's the things people throw out. It's like from the
People must have been living here
1950s.
for ages. Look
Yeah,
at that. Look at
yeah.
where that dated this chair is. And this stuff, look.
Yeah,
Amazing. I mean, this looks like it's genuinely bought at the time in the 50s or something, don't you think? Some of these really old reel-to-reel tape recorder.
Charlie is my name. Good for any game at night, my boys, who come and join me on a spree.
This is Wrentham Avenue, but it actually used to be called Ladysmith Road back in 1900. The reason why they changed the name of this road is because of this famous murder that took place here. Around 1900, one George Crossman was living here, letting out rooms, when one of his tenants noticed a strange smell coming from underneath the stairs. So he called the police, and the policeman shows up and catches George Crossman pulling out this trunk from the house. And so he drops the trunk, pegs it down the road with this policeman chasing him. And then in the end, he realises the game's up, and he pulled out a razor and slashed his own throat and killed himself then and there in the street. Anyway, when they go back and they opened up this trunk, they discovered the body of one of his wives in it, because this George Crossman, it turned out he was a serial bigamist. He had about 7 or 8 wives. The 5th one he had murdered and stuck in a trunk. Obviously, they didn't want it associated anymore with this famous murder and suicide, so they decided to change the name to Wrentham Avenue.
Whoever drinks at my expense are treated all the same. From dukes and lords to cabmen down, I make them drink champagne.
I sure do a lot of drinking in these videos. Okay, so what have you got here? What's so special about this place?
We offer a massive range of things that are new to people, things that have got big names at affordable prices because we're a neighbourhood bar.
Maybe I'll have a glass of something red.
Perfect.
From?
Our house wine is Sicilian, Nera di Avola.
Chardonnay. A glass of Chardonnay for the lady. So I'll try a bit of German Pinot.
There we go.
Why not? There we go.
Between 3 and 6 in the afternoon, we have a lot of babies and mums. They're the ones that need the wine. And then at 6 o'clock, they have to be gone, and it's just adults.
Hardcore.
Adults and dogs.
Good, solid drinking. Yeah, well, let's knock these back and then we'll be off.
Charlie is my name.
And on that note, let's go down the pub.
Champagne Charlie is my name. Good for any game at night, my boys. Good for...
Cheers, Simon. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you like the videos. It's really important because it really helps me out and it doesn't cost you anything. And if you want to see more of my videos, go over to my website, joolzguys.com, where you can buy lots of fabulous merchandise as well, where you can even buy my book and keep an eye out for my new book about London pub walks. See you next time.
Charlie is my name. Good for any game at night, my boys, who come and join me on a spree.